Very good morning once again. It's 34 minutes after 6. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Kusile Breakfast Show. We get into our very first interview segment, and we want to look at this very interesting topic about AI in an age that is defined by climate urgency as well as rapid technological change. The next generation is compelled to go beyond just inheriting the crisis to rewriting the response. And this week, Eswatini becomes the stage for a global first, the arrival of the AI4Good Incubator. It is a 5-day fully sponsored program that is empowering local youth to design ethical AI-driven solutions to some of our most pressing environmental challenges. Now, it's not about the coding alone, but it's also about the conscience, and it's about preparing young minds not to simply to survive the future, but to shape it. And of course, leading this charge is Lungile Maile, the local ambassador for Teens in AI, a global initiative that is breaking barriers to STEM education and opening the doors of innovation to all. Very good morning to you and welcome to Eswatini. How do you do?
Good morning, Swissa. How are you?
Doing all right, doing fantastic. I like this conversation mostly because I have nieces and nephews who seem to have a keen interest on what this AI thing is, and I have a sort of a little responsibility to try and teach them. So an opportunity for me to learn and then extend that information to them, and also just to place them in environments where you guys can impart the knowledge. I think is a great opportunity. But maybe let's get into the mechanics of the program. Take us to the why. Why was it important for you to personally bring AI for good in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and why now?
So Eswatini is the homeland of my grandmother, although I was raised up in South Africa, and it felt like the time was right in order to be able to really bring through the tools and the thinking around artificial intelligence, because if we deploy it correctly, it has the possibility of democratizing access.
What does, employing it correctly look like?
So I think what we are doing right now is, if we are utilizing solutions that are from the Western world, what then happens is the African stories are not told. So in order for that to happen, we need Africans to be telling African stories and teaching the AI correctly. Hence us bringing it here, so the Africans are not just tech consumers, but tech creators.
Yeah. This incubator program, I do read, and I do find that at the heart of it is climate innovation. It's very important, because you think about it, we are threatened by a lot of, the climatic confrontations that the world is, of course, confronted with. But I want you to break it down for us and the viewer at home. What exactly will these 30 participants, as pronounced by that article, be doing over the 5 days?
It's going to be a fully packed 5-day program. They're going to ideate. So we're going to go through design thinking, and they're going to come up with solutions to the 3 SDG goals that we're looking at, which is 13, 14, and 15, looking at climate, life below water, and life on land. And then from there, after they've come up with solutions, they're going to do actual customer surveys and create customer personas. So essentially, we come from an idea to creating a business, to learning how to pitch the business, and over the 5 days, they will then get an opportunity to pitch their presentations to a group of judges here in Eswatini, and the winning team will then compete with globally with, because right now, all over the world, this thing is happening.
Yeah, 100%. You say, underwater and life on land. So it's a overarching theme there.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that AI is positioned as a tool for climate justice? Because I suppose there's been other, innovations around trying to, to remedy the situation around climate change. But how is AI specifically being positioned as a tool for climate justice?
I think there's a lot of ways that can be done. So what AI has enabled us to do is to dream bigger and be more creative as human beings. So essentially what I imagine happening is that the ideas from the 30 young minds from across the country will be ones that no one else has ever thought of. And the only reason they couldn't have employed them is because they didn't have access to coding.
Right.
So AI would allow you to prompt and design an entire application just based on how you direct it. And they have not been able to really follow the rules around design thinking and how you ideate and how you prototype. So essentially what we are bringing through is the tools that allow the dreams and the ideas to flourish.
Yeah, so design thinking, ideating, prototypes seem to be, you know, the basic understanding for you to really, you know, be able to use AI to its full capacity. And I wonder because, you know, every time we speak about artificial intelligence and tech stuff, most people think code. They think coding. How accessible is this knowledge for a young person who has never coded before?
It's very accessible. So essentially what used to happen is if you needed to code an application, you needed to remember the rules and memorize around syntax errors and memorize around the different lines of code. Right now, with your own ChatGPT that you can access through your WhatsApp and you can access online, what then happens is you are able to have a companion, a tutor, a side buddy that helps you understand. And through natural language processing, you are able to tell it. So just like me and you are speaking, you are able to tell an AI what it is that you wanted to build without having to use the C++ and the Pythons of this world.
Yeah, which are quite complex.
Which are quite
by the
complex.
way, yeah. Look at the global figures here, and they're speaking to what? Only 15% climate-related SDG targets that are on track. That is quite sobering, if you ask me. And you know, I wonder how this initiative is going to reframe young people in Eswatini from being the victims of this statistic, because it seems as though that is the case, to being active problem solvers and ethical tech builders.
Yeah, I think at the crust of everything else, we need to create platforms that allow the young people to dream and ideate. That's the first thing. But the other thing is we need to be intentional. Even with regards to AI, even with regards to climate change, we need to be intentional about wanting to change the things around. If we do not, then what's going to happen is we're going to continue and say 15% only, 15% on, because nothing changes if you're not intentional about it.
Yeah, and I wonder, do we have mentorship? What kind of mentorship or sort of, let's call it support, that these young people are going to receive throughout this process?
It's going to be a fun 5 days. So from the University of Eswatini, which is really our venue partner, they've joined us in this journey. We've got university students that have joined up as mentors to do the AI, the tech coding side of things. We've got business mentors from RSTP that are joining to help out with the business side of running this whole idea, because it's not just an idea, it's a business. And from all over the world, we've got experts that will be joining and mentoring the learners.
Now, I understand that the idea of inclusion is central to teens in AI, as it should, by the way. You know, with past cohorts that have been made up of over, 50% women or non-binary participants, 75% from diverse backgrounds. What does true inclusion look like in our local context, especially in tech and climate innovation?
So essentially, it looks like removing the barriers to access. So the barriers to access, for example, this program is £250 if you were joining it from anywhere in the world. So the first barrier you remove is the cost. Then you remove the barrier around access to devices and access to data. So hence we're doing it at the University of Eswatini. Then you remove barriers around getting the learners through to the venue. And it's essentially going through to the crux of the matter and saying, young person, all we want is for you to come there with what you have. No experience. You do not need to have done ICT in any form. We just want you to be able to read English and write in English. That's all.
And comprehend it.
And comprehend it and know what you're saying.
100%.
That's another story for another day.
When you speak about £250, this event would have been £250 anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
I'm making, you know, I'm trying to look at how much that would be in rands, and we're looking at around 5,900 in rands. Would that be a fee that a single person would have to fork out?
Yes, essentially right now all over the world, that's the fee that people have had to pay. So I had to fight. I had to say, you know what, with my country, my grandmother's country, this is another barrier. So let us remove that barrier. And it has been an intentional journey around ensuring that the children from as far away as Nhlangano have an opportunity to come there. Regardless of your geographical location, regardless of your socio-economic
100%.
status, we want to be able to sit you in that room and allow you to dream and allow you to be empowered in order to see that tech is for you as well.
Lungile, you're speaking to my soul because I'm very passionate about underserved areas, particularly the ones that are the most remote. I'm from Nhlangano myself, and so I grew up in a place where we've always been looked at as people who are not as smart or as progressive as these other, perceived to be more developed areas. But here we are today, in Bovane, speaking together. And I wonder, are you seeing buy-in, though, from the rural communities, the traditionally underserved schools and areas?
We were extremely shocked. Hey,
Right.
When we put out the call, we put it out on our social media pages, and really we thought maybe the urban areas.
Yeah.
It was intentional that it's free for government learners from government schools, and we've had over 50% of the registrants from Nhlangano alone.
Wow.
So, fortunately enough, we had a teacher that was passionate. That is also one of the key levers in life. If you have a teacher that is just as passionate and about empowering the young people, and the teacher was very passionate and ensured that in Nhlangano from Sienhle High School, and they have joined. But we've got learners from Stegi, from Babane, from Manzini, all over the country that have joined. Essentially, we started off with just looking for 30 learners. I think, as I stand before you right now, I'm closer to 40.
Wow.
So, and my heart refuses to say no.
And how many of those are coming from the Shishalane region again?
15 of them.
15. Wow, that's 50% of them already.
Yeah, 50% of them came from that.
You might have to look at doubling that number. Your 30 might have to be 60. Because,
with the right partners, yes.
With the right partners, indeed. Okay, I've realized that some of the culminating conversations around AI is that there seems to be, it's not catching up with policy as it should. It is emerging technologies often not evolving as fast as policy, or policy not evolving as fast as the emerging technologies. In what ways do these programs that you have begin to influence or even at least preempt national conversations around AI regulation, digital rights, and environmental accountability?
I think we don't know what you don't know. So essentially, if we make these programs create the awareness around what is this, remove the stigma around everybody thinking that AI is here to replace jobs, and actually show it as a way to leverage African problems in a way that positions Africa as a global leader. I think you just had the news, and we were speaking to Japan. When they were talking about what they've done it very well to position themselves through tech in order to be global leaders. That opportunity lies here in Africa as well. And I'm a huge believer that with our governments and policymakers, the more they are aware of what this means and what potentials, what possibilities lie if it is implemented correctly, then the policy should follow suit.
Yeah, happy that you're very much awake to the news that are happening in the Kingdom of Eswatini. So, so kutalwandle on that note, and it was great to see the king, just exercising his humility in saying that Japan is obviously more advanced than we are, so we ought to learn from that, and I suppose government has to take the bait and run with it. I love your phrase, confronting African problems, using African minds and African solutions, because I think that is the first step where we should start. But I wonder, are there some efforts that you have to engage government or policymakers through this incubator, the outcomes of this incubator? Right?
Yeah, so essentially what we are doing is, this one being the first, we do hope that it is not the last. So we are engaging the different ministries in order for them to be able to see what we are doing. Like, as I said, I think sometimes we think it takes too much to bring such a solution to a country. But if we are able to show the potential that lies within our country, then we're going to be able to change minds around. So we have invited them. Hopefully they come and see the demo day. You are also invited as well.
Oh, yeah. We'll be sure to be there. If it's not me, if I have to be on air, I know my production team will always deploy someone who's just as capable. We have a great team. But, speaking of a great team, I know our Ministry of ICT University that's been doing an amazing job
Yes, they
in terms of advocating for AI, for STEM, but this passion around, school-going children in high schools, I think needed another shift, and it surely did need another catalyst. And we're happy that you guys are doing it, and I'm sure the minister will endorse that and will support that. So I'm really excited for the outcomes that will come from that. But I do want to highlight that we often celebrate innovation at the finish line, and I'm sure that you've seen that. Once it is polished, once it is funded, or it has been awarded, and we tend to shy away from the work.
Yeah.
This incubator, just reading on the document that I was sent, is that it places value on the learning process itself. And that is where everything begins. What are you hoping each young person walks away with?
I'm hoping they walk away with the understanding that AI is accessible. I want them to have an understanding of what it is so that they can collaborate better with it. I want them to be able to feel that their ideas are valid. And I want them to essentially start seeing problems as opportunities. Africa is blessed to have a lot of problems. I think it's a blessing because it's only when you are solving a problem that you are able to create a business. Essentially, that is what creating a business is. You spot a problem, you come up with a solution to a problem, and you find somebody who's willing to pay for the problem.
Yeah. All our problems are going to give birth to solutions, but that requires the learning, the active learning, and the willingness to the active learning. I wonder, 5 days, are you giving us confidence that in 5 days these kids will come out with prototypes that look feasible to be turned into something that is sustainable?
Feasible with the right support? The ICT ministry would have to come in. Your normal entrepreneurship incubators would have to also come in and step up in order to turn it into that. But a prototype will be available. And essentially everywhere else in the world, when you have a prototype, you are able to speak to investors and say, this is what I'm solving and this is how big the market is. So we're going to give you enough skills for you to have the investor conversations.
Finally, there's something poetic about this incubator speaking to climate innovation, especially in a country that has been confronted by, of course, land, deep connection with land, some rain cycles, as well as big, bolstering on agriculture right now. What message do you hope this sends to the next rural child from afar about what's possible and about who belongs and where they belong?
I think what I hope it sends through is essentially that when you look at the problems that you are facing, your knowledge that is coming from the rural areas has experience, it has underlying tones to be able to solve problems. Essentially, we keep on saying that you need to go through university, and I'm a huge purporter for academic success, but there's also learnings that happen as you grow up, as you go through, experience certain things. There's some things that people that have planted maize meal know that I'll never know. Essentially, that knowledge is able to create other things.
Lungile, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best with this incubator, and certainly the school-going children that are attending. We hope that you learn a lot from this, and that what it is that you learn are able to apply it, and it eventuates into something that is sustainable for the betterment of the kingdom of Eswatini. Let's go for a net break. We'll be back with our traffic update.